Hello and welcome to Unit 10 Day 1. We're going to learn about the three forms of a quadratic today. We're going to be determining if it opens up or down, a max or min, and continue on with our factoring from last. So these are the basic characteristics of a quadratic. We have the vertex, which is the high or the low point. So if it opens down, it's the high point. If it opens up, it's the low point. So this would be considered a min. That would be considered a max. The next vocab word is what we call the axis of symmetry, which is that pink line. Axis of symmetry is exactly what it says. It's the symmetric point or line that makes the parabola, splits it into two equal parts. The roots are also called the x-intercepts, or the solutions, or the zeros, and those are where it crosses the x-axis. So those circled points there. And then lastly is something we already know, the y-intercept. And just with any equation, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So on this first one, it's the same as the x-intercept, but on this one, it is right there. So just looking at those key points, maybe make a sketch in your notebook to draw on the key points. All right, these are the three forms of a quadratic. Okay, so from the first thing we want to look at always is that number in front. The number in front determines whether it opens up or down. If the A is positive, it opens up. If the A is negative, it opens down for any of the three forms. So general form is not factored. It's in that form, ax squared plus bx plus c. All we can tell from general form is this key point here, which is what we call the y-intercept. So if we think about our graph that we just looked at, oops, that was a bad drawing. Hold on. We think about that graph we just looked at, the y-intercept we would know is right there, all right? So general form, the only thing you can find is the y-intercept. Vertex form is what you think it is. It is finding the vertex, so that would be the h and the k. So according to that, our vertex then would be h comma k. Remember, inside is right left, outside is up down. This is always the opposite. So if it's a minus h, then it's going to be a positive for our vertex. Remember, the vertex on our picture is the high or the low point. And lastly, for factored form, that's the one we just did on our benchmark, we can find the roots. So this one is going to be r1 comma 0, and that's going to be r2 comma 0. The y-coordinate is 0 because it's the x-intercepts. It's where it crosses the x-axis according to our picture. Right, so now we're going to dive a little deeper into each one. So vertex form is from last semester, if you remember our right, left, up, down. So this would go right, 2, up, 1. So that means our vertex would be 2, 1. And the axis of symmetry, if you look, right, 2, up, 1. And it opens up because it's a positive number in front. The axis of symmetry would be right there at 2 because it divides the parabola in half. So the generic version of that is putting in hk. The vertex is always the right and the left portion. The y-coordinate is always the up and the down portion. And notice that the x-coordinate of the vertex is always the same as the equation for the axis of symmetry. Then we have general form. Remember, the only thing we can find from general form is the c is the y-intercept. The x-coordinate is 0 because it is the y-intercept. And then again, just like all the equations, you look at that first leading coefficient, the number in front, and it tells you whether it opens up or down. Go ahead and write this formula in your notes. It's the axis of symmetry. So from vertex form, we can just see it. But from general form, we have to use a formula because we don't know where the vertex is at. We're not going to utilize it now, but it's good to put in your notes, so kind of make sure you write that down. And then lastly, we're going to dive a little deeper into factored form. Factored form gives us the roots. So the reason we were doing all of that factoring is so that we could find the x-intercepts. And again, just a reminder pictorially, the x-intercepts are the points where it crosses the y-axis. And just like all the equations, when there's an a in front or a number in front, we look to see it opens up if it's positive. It opens down if that number in front is negative. And then just a quick reminder, whenever we have two x-intercepts, the axis of symmetry is always in the middle of those. So we can always add and divide by 2 to find where our middle is. And then again, the y-intercept is always when x is 0. So if you wanted to find the y-intercept for any equation, you simply plug 0 in for x, and it'll give you the y-intercept. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find all of the key characteristics on these parabolas. All right, so the first one, the vertex is at 1, 2. That is right, 1, negative 2, excuse me, right there. Oh, negative 3, excuse me. My gosh, can't count. All right, the roots are where it crosses the x-axis, so it's approximately -1, 0, and again it's 0 because it's an x-intercept, and approximately 3, 0. We can notice that the axis of symmetry is right there in the middle at 1. And then lastly, using what we know about factored form, it's going to look like this, and vertex form is going to look like this. All right, so factored form is using the roots. Vertex form is using the vertex. So my roots are -1 and 3. So in my equation, I'm going to write a +1 and a -3, right? And the vertex goes right 1, so that's a -1, and down 3, so that's a -3. And they're opening upwards, so I don't need to worry about putting a negative in front, so that one's okay. On this one, the vertex is 2, 4. The inner, so that's right here. The intercepts are at 0 and 4, so at 0, 0, and 4, 0. Just a reminder again that y is always 0 for every x-intercept. The axis of symmetry is right in between 0 and 4 at x equals 2. And then factored form again is going to be set up like this. And vertex form is going to be set up like this. All right, so factored form, we're using the intercepts, so we're going to do -0 and -4, because those are my intercepts. My vertex is right 2, up 4, so that's a -2 and a +4. And this one opens downwards, so that means the number in front needs to be negative. We don't know what that number in front is, but we're going to assume it's 1. So then we just need to put a negative in front to signify it's opening upside down. All right, now based on what we know about each type of equation here, go ahead and see if you can identify the form and identify what you can find by simply just looking, right? Excuse that one that will not go away apparently. All right, so the first one is factored form. And from the factored form, you can find the x-intercepts or the roots. And remember, you change the sign, so it's +3, 0 and -5, 0. And we know it opens up because the number in front is positive. And it's doing the same thing it did to me last time. It's not writing in the right spot. So, all right, the second one is vertex form. I lied, it's not vertex form. It is, but I'm writing on the wrong one. The second one is vertex form. And what we can find then is the vertex. And on this one, the vertex then is right 4 and up 9. So it's 4, 9. And this one opens downwards because it's a negative in front. Number 3 is not this. Number 3 is general form. And all we can find from general form is the y-intercept. In this case, the y-intercept is that last number. So it's going to be 0, -6. And this one opens up because it's got a positive in front. My thing is off, so just ignore that. It opens up. You can see it. All right, and the final one is a repeat. I just wanted to check to make sure you're not just going in order. This one is factored form, and again, I can find the x-intercepts. And the x-intercepts are -1, 0 and +3, 0. Remember, you have to change the sign. And this one also opens down because there's a negative in front. All right, and our last example is this, and this is going to be kind of the challenge one. This starts in general form, but using what we know from our benchmark, we can factor this. So multiply to 5, add to -6, that's -5 and -1. So if I wanted to convert this, it would be x -5, x -1. And that means my intercepts are +5, 0 and +1, 0 because we changed the sign. The reason we want to go from general to factored form is so we can find the x-intercepts. It opens up because it's a positive in front, so that means, and when it opens up, remember, it is a minimum, it's a low point. The axis of symmetry is in the middle, so I'm going to move my sketch over here. Hold on a second. Oh, come on. Move that over here so we can see it. So what I want to do when I want to find the axis of symmetry is I need to find the middle of my roots. So if I go to positive 1 and positive 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, plot them. The middle you can see is right there at x equals 3. So the axis of symmetry is 3. The axis of symmetry is the x-coordinate of the vertex, so I know that's 3. To find the y-coordinate, I'm just going to simply plug in. So I'm going to do 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 5. That's 9 minus 18 plus 5. And that gives me negative 4. So my vertex is 3, negative 4. Now I have a nice sketch. And lastly, going back to general form, it always gives me the y-intercept. So our y-intercept is 0, 5. So if I'm making a sketch, I'm just going to write the number 5 by it. Right? So that's going to be kind of like an extension on your worksheet. So go ahead and start on worksheet 1. For your assignment, feel free to refer back to the video if you need it. Otherwise, you should look at your notes and have a wonderful